good morning and welcome to Library Scented Life. If you're new here, my name is Sydney. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. Let's get right into it. So today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up and talking about all the books that I read this month. First, I just want to say that I'm filming this on the 30th of August and the 31st is tomorrow, so I still have one more day of reading in which I'm probably going to complete the book Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I'm about 230 pages into this, so I have about 150 pages left, which I can easily finish between now and tomorrow night. So this story follows a woman who goes back to her small town to cover a news story as a journalist about two small girls who went missing and then were murdered. And while back in her hometown, she has to stay with her mother and her stepfather and her little sister that she hardly knows, as there have been many falling outs throughout the years between her and her family, and that is why she moved to the big city in the first place. So it's her dealing with that while also looking into the murders of these girls. I would just like to put a trigger warning for self-harm and suicidal ideation for this book. I wasn't expecting that going in, and it was a bit of a shock, so just to let you know. So the first book that I read this month was The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera. So The Tiger's Daughter follows two main characters who have known each other since childhood, and we are reading a letter written from one of them to the other. They are from two very different worlds. This is about these two women's story and how they grew up together at a distance, and it's talking about their relationship and coming to terms with their sexuality, and which is really great. That's the one thing I love about this book, is that it was very queer and I absolutely loved it. So this book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, but that may go down after I look into the cultural appropriation it is being accused of a bit more. The author pulled objects, rituals, traditions, and words from many different cultures that were primarily different Asian cultures, and then after doing that, the author pulled them all together and called them their own fantasy world that they made up in a way. So I'm a little bit weary about that. So the next book I read was part of a series. This is Odd Hours, book number 4 in the Odd Thomas series. So I really loved the first Odd Thomas book so much that I'm still reading the series after I haven't liked the subsequent 3 as much as the first one. So this one I gave 3 out of 5 stars, but I'm kind of thinking 2.5 to 3, maybe like 2.75. I'm not going to give you the synopsis of this book, but I will give you the synopsis of the first, just no spoilers are in effect. So the whole series generally follows this boy named Odd, and he can see dead people, and a lot of the stories are different, but some of them he is helping the dead person discover who murdered them and helping the police uncover their hidden body. Sometimes he just helps lingering spirits decide to let go and cross over to the other side, and it's very interesting, it's funny, and the writing is very captivating. For the 4th book, the writing wasn't as captivating. I still love it because I still love the character who is keeping me attached to this series and who I will continue reading for all the books that have come out, because I do want to read to the end of his story. So the next book I read in August was The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. So this was a 4 out of 5 star read for me. I really like the characterization of Ronan. He was mainly who we followed in this book. The plot was really interesting and something very unique that I hadn't read before, and I really enjoyed seeing how it all played out. There were a couple things that kind of dropped this from a 5 star, and one of them is just I'm getting a little tired of the she's not like other girls trope in terms of Blue. And it's fine not to be like other girls, but they're categorizing the other girls as like everyone else in existence and no one equates Blue, and it's just a little bit tropey, but I still love it. So the next book I read in August was actually in audiobook format, but I do have a physical copy. So that is The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. I'm probably pronouncing that really wrong, but I'm sorry. So this is actually the book series that the video game The Witcher is based off of. My boyfriend is obsessed with that video game. We were taking a road trip 5 hours there and 5 hours back, so I suggested an audiobook. So this follows Geralt, who is a witcher, and a witcher is someone who is pretty much pest control in mythological world. So it's kind of that he kills monsters, and mostly for money, but sometimes he just kills kills them if they're harming people. And this is a series, but this is the first book in that series. It explained a couple of his different adventures, and then in between those chapters were a continuous story that glued together the plot that is where he is now, and then the other stories were his previous situations and the previous things that he's done. So I found this very interesting. I think if I read it physically, I would have rated it higher. Audiobooks for me, I don't normally rate as high because I'm not as engrossed into the story and it's not as personal an experience as reading physically is. So I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I will definitely be picking up a physical copy of the second one because my boyfriend is already listening to it and he says that it's even better than the first one, which he already gave 5 stars. So the next book I read in August was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. As you can tell from the tabs, I have a lot of feelings. And I also have a separate video talking all about this. I'm pretty sure it's like 18 minutes long, so strap in for that if you want to see that. So I'm not going to talk about it much here because I said so much in the other video. This was a 5 out of 5 read for me. It was so good. It reminded me so much of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I kill for books like that. So if you didn't know by now, Children of Blood and Bone is about a world that used to have magic, and then the magic was taken away. And this story follows a girl named Zaylee who potentially has the power to bring magic back, to the dismay of the people who took it away in the first place. Okay, I need to stop talking about this one because it's going to turn into another 18-minute video, so I will just link it up there for you to go watch for yourself. So the next book I read in August was God's Behaving Badly by Marie Phillips. So this book I didn't choose to read by myself. This was actually a book club read. I have a book club with my friends and we meet up once a month to talk about the book that we chose for that month, and it's really fun and a great way to get together. But we've been cursed with really bad reads for the past, well, since we started the book club. So God's Behaving Badly is about gods and goddesses from Greek mythology living in modern day London, and the main plot revolves around Apollo, the god of the sun, and he gets hit by a Cupid's bow and falls in love with a mortal woman who then becomes the cleaner to their house. This book is very sexual in nature, and you'd think, yeah, that's what to be expected with gods and they're behaving badly. It makes sense, but there are also a lot of rape jokes. And I understand that's how most of the demigods were created, was gods raping mortals and all that terrible stuff. But I still don't want to read your rape jokes. And I would also like to read you an example of the writing, which I did not appreciate. Alice screamed. She screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed. There's a period. She screamed and screamed and screamed, and as she screamed, she became aware that the screaming wasn't exhausting her, or blah 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 blah, we don't really care. But I would just like to point out that the word scream in different verb tenses was used 11 times in that one part, which is made up of 2 sentences. Needless to say, I did not enjoy this that much. I gave it like 2 stars, and the only reason it was that high was because I have a problem with like Greek mythology. I used to be really obsessed with it, and I really appreciated how accurate the myths were. The representation of the gods and goddesses was really spot on, and I appreciated that the author did her research in one aspect of the story. So the next thing I picked up in August was The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. I found this in a thrift store. I had never heard of it. It's the smallest Stephen King book I've ever seen, and I didn't even read the synopsis because Stephen King is an auto buy. So I picked this up not expecting too much, and it was a 4 out of 5 star read. I really enjoyed this. So this book is about a 9-year-old girl who gets lost in a forest while on a hike with her family, and it's about her experience in the forest and surviving. She gets hurt, she gets stung by bees. I feel so bad for her. You really feel for this character because you're in her head the whole time, and you see her thinking about her family and her being a little 9-year-old kid, and you also seeing her doing things in desperation for survival. My favorite aspect of this book was that there were strange things happening in the forest, and you couldn't tell whether it was just her fear as a little girl lost in a forest, showing itself at night, and her having nightmares and hallucinating from hunger, or if that stuff was really there. And I love unreliable narrators and characters, so this was really great. It's a really quick read. I definitely recommend that you pick it up. It has a lot of baseball references, so I'm not really into that, but if you are, then that's even more of a reason to pick it up. So that was 4 out of 5 stars, and for a book I've never heard of, I was really impressed. So until I finish Sharp Objects tomorrow, my official last read of August was I Hate My Selfie by Shane Dawson. So this came out before Shane Dawson came out. I feel like you can tell there's a vulnerability that was lacking that he shows now on camera, and I feel like if he wrote a book now, I would really enjoy it. But this one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I did like the stories, and I appreciated how his writing was exactly how he speaks, which always makes me laugh. So this book was okay, but I know he could do better. So I have officially done the math of the month. I read 8 books this month, and if I finish this one tomorrow, I will have read 9. So this month, for the books I have completely finished, I have read 2,986 pages, which is pretty good for me, and now that TBR video that I posted on Wednesday doesn't feel as terrifying. And then if I finish this tomorrow, I will have read 3,379 pages in August. So that is the end of my August wrap-up. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to. I would love to have you. Let me know how your reading was in August and what your reading plans are for September. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm so excited to see you in my next video. Bye! Oh no! Bye!